All right, got a couple games in duos with Alex here. He's playing Newcastle in the first game, and I was playing Newcastle in the second game. Fortunate enough to get some nice high kill wins. By the way, I'm going to link his YouTube channel in the description below. So check him out. Fun guy and plays a variety of games. I just play Apex, but he plays a bunch of other interesting stuff, and I think he's going to have these games up from his perspective at some point. So I want to talk about this Legend Newcastle over here. First thing I want to do is I want to ask you, how many times have you won 3 games of Apex in a row? How many times have you done that? It's pretty hard. I have a badge for it, so apparently I've done it once, but I have a feeling it was something like I played on a Monday, won a game, didn't play for the rest of the week, and then won 2 games like on Saturday when I picked it up. I have a feeling that's what happened. I don't really know for sure. It's a pretty rare thing, right? If you've done it, good for you. I think the badge for that goes up to like 5, so like you can do even better. Although I'm never gonna do that. Have you done that in ranked? I'm pretty sure I did it in pubs. I definitely didn't do it in ranked. Have you done it in competitive play? See, that's a big. Most of us haven't done it in competitive play, but I'm sure you can imagine playing against professionals who do this for money and take this very seriously. It's a lot harder to win 3 games in a row. So when a team does that, it's a big deal. Like, you recognize that these are some of the best players, not just in the world, because you go to the championship, and obviously these are the best players in the world. But you win 3 games in a row against the best players in the world, and you've just set yourself up a whole nother level, right? Something you're doing is drastically different. Something you're doing is working, and everybody else should be following suit, right? There's only 2 teams that I know that have done that. I need to do research and figure out how many teams have ever done this before. But I know Optic Gaming's done it. Pretty sure Optic Gaming has done it twice, formerly known as Esports Arena. Pretty sure they've done it twice. I think they did it in Sweden, and they did it at Champs this year. Another team that also did this at Champs is 100 Thieves. Now, 100 Thieves in North America is kind of a meta pioneer. You've probably, if you've watched Comp Apex for long enough, you've definitely seen the Gibby, Valk, Caustic team comp. That's been the most popular comp for like 2 years. Well, if you're a little newer, like I was, you didn't know, or you probably didn't know, that comp was made popular by 100 Thieves, who won, I think, the North American. No, they won Worlds right before COVID hit, or something like that. They won some big tournament with that comp, and then everybody in North America started following suit. The rest of the regions didn't follow as heavily, but a lot of them did after like North American teams kept being successful with the comp. Anyways, so they did what they do best and innovate compositions, and they came at this event with another entirely new comp. I'm pretty sure they still played Valk. I could be wrong about that. They might have played Seer instead. They also played Watson, but the notable thing that they played almost every game was Newcastle, this new legend right here, to a great degree of success. So day before finals, they were in either the losers bracket or the winners bracket finals, and they just start the 6-game series off with win, just to start the day off. It was crazy. It was super hype. And I was watching it live, and I was sitting here thinking, man, we're going to get to see a Newcastle comp. This is the legend that's going to replace Gibby. We're still going to have a defensive legend meta, which I'm fine with, a real defensive legend being meta. We're going to see Newcastle show up in increasing pick rates. He's going to be all over ranked. He's going to be all over pubs because these pro players are playing him to such great success, right? That's what I thought. Newcastle, at the recording of this video, sits at a 1.6% pick rate globally. That pick rate goes down the higher you get up in ranks. To, like, I think with Masters players, it goes down to 0.9%. He's just barely above Crypto in terms of pick rate. So what happened? It's even crazier if you think about all the different reasons that 100 Thieves decided to go with Newcastle. A lot of the reasons are kind of similar to why Furia gave Mad Maggie a great shot. None of Mad Maggie's abilities are particularly like impressive like on their own. Like her drill, cool. You can shoot people through cover. That's really cool. The ball, you can move your whole team a lot faster and it does some damage, and now it even breaks Gibby Bubble. Pretty cool, but nothing game breaking, nothing like game changing, nothing like a Valk ult that takes your whole team to this cool spot. Nothing insane. The reason though that teams played Mad Maggie so much, or that Fury has played Mad Maggie so much rather, and a lot of teams like even TSM has given her a really good shot, is those cooldowns, dude. It's a couple seconds. It's like on Newcastle, it's like 15 seconds cooldown for his tactical. Like you throw the tactical lasts 20 seconds, and after it's gone, 15 seconds later, you get another one. So you can basically use two of them in a fight. Like you can start a fight off with his tactical, blah, blah, blah. 20 seconds goes by. 15 seconds after that, you can pop another one out. A lot of high-ranking players, like Masters and Pred level players, will recommend that you keep your fights to about 30 seconds to a minute. Like you don't really want to go over a minute because the longer the fight goes on, the more likely it is that people are going to third-party you, especially on a map like King's Canyon. Anyways, cooldowns are crazy. The stats are crazy. All the shields take forever to destroy. I know there's a lot of people that are like, like you can just shoot his tactical and destroy it, right? You can shoot his ultimate and destroy it, right? Do you know how much health his tactical has? Do you know how much health his ultimate has? Each of the two parts on his tactical have 500 health each. 500. Do you know how much it takes for you to do 500 health? Do you know how much damage, like what you have to do that much damage at once? You could get a purple mag on a flatline and unload that entire clip, and there you go. You just destroyed one part of the shield. Like, good job. And you spent that whole time not shooting your enemy. Like, do you think the Newcastle is just going to let you shoot his shield, like, for an entire flatline clip? Do you think that's going to happen? How realistic is that? And with the ultimate, it's like 750 per the main walls. I think the smaller walls are something smaller. I don't even know, like 300 or something. But you're not just going to shoot the ultimate for 750. Like, you can't even one clip that. Like, you're gonna have, like, no matter what, I don't care what you're using, even you're using Kraber, you're unloading more than a clip into this thing just to destroy a wall and not shoot a person. Like, we can all say that we're going, like, you can just counter Newcastle by just shooting his tactical and ultimate, but in practice, like, you're not dumb enough to waste that much ammo on a freaking tactical, right? You're just not going to use it. You're not going to do that. Which means the Newcastle player pretty much has freedom to use their ultimate and their tactical freely. Like, there's not a consistent counter. The only consistent counter you can really do is Fuse using his knuckle cluster. Fuse is a pretty good counter to Newcastle in that he just has to use one knuckle cluster, or I think it's like two knuckle clusters, and he knocks out the ultimate. So using a full charge of a tactical to destroy pretty much a full charge of an ultimate, it's a pretty good deal. Fuse does fairly decently counter Newcastle. He can't consistently counter the tactical, though, because if Fuse is just knuckle clustering the tactical, will you move the tactical? Like, it's not, it's not hard. Cooldowns are crazy. The stats on these things are crazy. Look at that leap. Look at the distance. Like, I didn't use that defensively. A lot of people are thinking, oh, defensive legend, I have to use this thing to keep myself safe. No, be aggressive. You can use this thing, like, you can use it to just push. I just used it to leap into this Horizon's face and fight. Safely, too, because I'm making cover for myself. So I'm closing the gap, making cover for myself while I'm closing that gap, so they can't effectively do anything. You can redirect it in the air, so if they try to move around you, like, good luck, you're just going to redirect it again. They can't just climb over it for, like, the first 30 seconds because of the electrocution, which will stun them and do 20 I think it's 20 points of damage. Like, it's great. It's great. And now I've got this cover that I can play around that, here's the other thing. You're adding cover to the terrain that other people went into this fight thinking there wouldn't be cover there. Like that Horizon, she's walking up and she sees us on this cliff, right? And that cliff is all that we had for cover. And there's just open space basically between us. So she's thinking, oh, there's all this open space. They're not going to push me because I would just beam them, right? And then suddenly there's cover in a place you didn't plan for there to be cover in. It's like, it just takes a couple seconds to adjust to it, but in a game that moves as fast as a shooter, like, a couple seconds makes a difference, dude. A couple seconds matters. And this isn't even like everybody freaked out about his passive when he was being released, right? They're like, oh, Lifeline's going to be, here's his passive, right? Oh, Lifeline's just going to be worthless after this guy comes out. Nobody's going to play Lifeline because Newcastle's res is, but I don't care about his passive. I really don't care. His passive, you could take away his passive. You could replace his passive with something that hurts him. Like every time he heals somebody, he loses all of his shields. I would not care. Like the abilities are still crazy good, and the cooldowns are super low. It only takes like 2 minutes for the ultimate to come up. I used this in the last fight. It's up here for the new fight already. That's insane. That's really fast. That's one of the complaints that we have about Seer's ult, right? Like just free wall hacks basically every 2 minutes. Like you start a fight, you can throw the ult poorly, it doesn't matter, you're not going to get punished for it because it's just going to be up in another 2 minutes. Like it's going to be up after you're done with this fight. It's the cooldowns basically mean that anybody can play this legend and not get punished very hard for it. Like it's actually insane. So I'm ranting about him. I'm trying to make him sound like he's the most amazing legend you've ever seen, but nobody's playing him. Why is nobody playing him? Well, reason is first impressions, early impressions are everything when it comes to the success of a legend. Think about Seer. Seer is a really interesting example. Everybody played him when he first came out because he was just straight up busted. Like, his tactical was much wider, it dealt damage, it basically blinded you, and it did all the things that it does right now, right? The animation canceling and all that. The ult cooldown was even shorter. Like, I think it was a minute. I think it was literally a minute. Like, you could use it, and you would have another one up before the fight was done. It was insane. It was crazy. But then when he got nerfed, even though he has sat in his nerf state for a year, and it took us nearly a year, took professionals nearly a year to realize that Seer was still broken. He hasn't been buffed. He still hasn't been nerfed. A nerf is probably on the way. All that's ever been done to him is nerfs. But because the first nerf was so heavy, we just kind of stopped playing him. We were like, oh, this guy is so much weaker than he was before. Never mind the fact that he was still the best scan legend in the game, the best source of wall hacks, free wall hacks 24/7 in the game. Didn't matter because we nerfed him so hard that everybody's impression of him changed. At a time, like it was like 2 weeks into his life in Apex, and that was still a really impressionable time for the community, right? It's still early on. Anything you do with this guy early on is going to drastically affect how people think of him. First impressions and early impressions are really important. The other thing that needs to be taken into account, and I think this is probably the ultimate reason why you're not seeing as much Newcastle as I think you should be. I love talking about pro play, but pro players really don't have that big of an impact on the pick rate of legends. Ultimately, they don't have that much of a pick rate. Like Lifeline, I'm looking at pick rates here. Lifeline is the 5th most picked legend at a 7% pick rate. Hardly any pros play her. Hardly any. There's been a couple European pros that have had some great success, and hopefully we'll get to talk about that when the pro season starts. But nobody plays her. Regular players don't care. They're playing what they think is fun. They're playing what they like. They're playing characters that they've formed an attachment with, so some of them aren't even good, and they know they're not good, but it's what they want to play, and they're just going in for pubs. Like, it doesn't have to be the most meta legend that's ever existed, right? Mirage, I think I make fun of Mirage a lot. I think we all agree Mirage is not really comp viable. Like, he doesn't offer enough to be competitive. And if you look at his pick rate among Masters and Pred players, it's like 0.7%. It's almost non-existent. But if you look at the entire population, he sits at a 2.8%. He's not the lowest picked legend. There are meta legends below him that are picked less often than him. Like, we all agree Caustic has been good for comp for 2 years. He's been strong in comp for 2 years. Mad Maggie, I was just talking about. Freaking Gibby. Like, we've had Gibby be a must pick, at least in North America, for like 2 years. He sits at a 1.7% pick rate, barely above Newcastle, barely above Rampart. Like, so people don't base what they want to play off of what the pros are playing. They don't even necessarily base it off of what the streamers are playing. Rather, streamers base what they play off of what the population wants to play. So that's why a ton of them still play Octane, Pathfinder, and Wraith. That's why you see them so much in Masters and Pred lobbies, even though you're not going to see them in pro play. you're just not. Especially Pathfinder. Like Pathfinder, second most picked legend in Masters and Pred lobbies. When's the last time you saw a pro play him in a pro lobby? I don't think anyone has in like 2 years now. It just doesn't happen. So that's one thing to note. Let's see. I went through it. I had a checklist of all the things I want to talk about with this legend. It's already seen comp success. Pick rate is still really low. Cooldowns are crazy. Stats are crazy. First impressions kind of made it hard for him to be super successful. So we might see his power creep up, and I would love to come back to this video in like a year and see where Newcastle is at, where he sits in the meta. Well, it's pretty much everything that I have to say about Newcastle. If you're not playing him, I would strongly suggest you consider it, because if you like his playstyle at all, well, thanks to his cooldowns, you get to use his playstyle constantly. So I would strongly suggest you give him a shot, and I think we're going to see a lot more of him in pro play this season. I think he's going to be very popular. I think 100 Thieves will continue to give him a shot, since they've had success with him, and I think eventually other teams will follow suit. Will he ever be hugely popular in Master Pred lobbies? It's kind of hard to say, honestly. It really depends on if those pro teams take their comps into ranked and give them a shot there. It really depends on that. Yep. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video or on my next stream.